So I started in Warzone 1 with a KD of 0.7. That was predominantly on the mouse and keyboard. I thought I can do a lot better if I improved my mouse and keyboard. I was using a £10 mouse from Amazon. So I bought myself the Razer Viper Ultimate. Brilliant mouse, but didn't really impact my KD too much. Then I went to get myself a mechanical keyboard, which again, I loved it. But in terms of the performance output, wasn't really doing a lot for me. Then I got a 1440p monitor. So everything, went all out, upgraded all my equipment to try and improve my KD. I really enjoy playing with mouse and keyboard, but in a game like Warzone, it's just not competitive. Call of Duty is predominantly made for aim assist lovers, so I had to give in. I ended my tenure with the keyboard and mouse around 0.9 to 1 KD, really not improving. And that was about 70% of the time I played Warzone. That's the best I could get the KD at. Then came a PS4 controller. I've done a lot to mod it over the time to make it suit my needs. About the last, I'd say about 30% of the time I had left on Warzone 1, which I really miss, and what an amazing game that was. I managed to bring my KD up to 1.1. So now I could practically call myself a controller god. I was now the self-proclaimed best player in the squad, and my journey really began on the controller. One of the first things I did was upgrade my controller. I bought for myself the PlayStation back pedals. Now, these are about 20-25 quid, and you can just stick them on to your PlayStation 4 and you get extra 2 buttons, and that can be mapped to any of the other buttons on the controller. As well as this, I also bought the cheapest thumbstick risers that I could find on Amazon, because I wasn't too sure if this is exactly what I want. But seeing a few reviews, I thought, let me give it a try. To be honest, I love that controller. It fits my hand like a glove. And hence, I've been using it for now maybe a year. The back pedals were a little bit hit and miss, and the thumbstick risers were a bit stick and drift, but what can you do? So I spent about 80 quid on the PS4 controller that I modded with the razors and the back pedals. So overall, a bit cheaper than what you get from a company that does custom controllers, but maybe not as good. I have finally been convinced to upgrade my controller, and it was something myself and Yoomyr were talking about. He's recently bought a controller from Controller Modz, which is a UK-based company with really amazing reviews. With a KD of 1.6, I think it's about time I upgrade my controller. It's definitely, aim assist is way too powerful in Call of Duty. So with the upgrade, I've ordered myself an upcoming controller by Nacon. It's the Revolution 5 Pro. It's not released yet. It's going to be my first full custom controller that I buy. And just to prepare myself for it, I thought, why don't I have a look at YooMyrs controller and give you guys my thoughts on how this controller by Controller Modz is, and give you my insight of what is good about it, but also why I didn't buy it. So Yoomyr spent quite a bit of time researching controllers before going for his first custom controller as well. And the reason he went for Controller Modz, there was 3 main reasons. The first one, they were one of the cheapest controller brands out there, and that were providing a custom controller. And then secondly, they were UK based, which was something he was quite keen on. I've ordered Nacon, which is France based, I believe, so French company. So if I have any problems, that could be quite painful. And then third reason he got a controller from Controller Modz is their reviews are really, really good. They're averaging around 4.9 out of 5, which is amazing for a controller company. And there's a lot of commentary about having really good customer service. Hopefully, Yoomyr doesn't have to use their customer service because the controller is just fine. But that's a peace of mind that he was really after when spending around £135 for this controller. Now, this controller he bought about 6 months ago. The prices have since gone up a little bit. I did the same build again, and that looked like around £160, which is, it's quite close to all the other custom controllers you can get out there. So I'm not sure it's as much of a deal maker now, the price, but it's definitely worth considering. So the design of the controller, it's pretty much just a PS5 controller. There's not a whole lot unique about it. So I'm going to skip over everything that's PS5 anyway. There are two custom blue thumbsticks on the controller, which are both adjustable, height adjustable. As you can see on this controller, the right analog stick, which is what you use to aim, has been changed to the taller stick. That really helps with accuracy if you're any good. And not for Yoomyr, he still struggles. There's also custom printed text on the touchpad, which, is stuck really well. Like, I can't tell if it's a sticker or how it's been put on. So really good job there. Aesthetic-wise, not a fan, but it's the same shade of blue as the thumbstick, so it does flow. And then on the back, we have two buttons, which one of the cheapest options for Yoomyr, so he went pure cheap. Which is something I normally do. Buttons wise, they're well positioned overall, and they feel quite solid actually. So they are mappable. You can change the inputs from each of the buttons, which is great. The grip on the Controller Modz controller is actually a late add by Yoomyr, so don't shoot down Controller Modz for that. For Yoomyr himself, he really loves it. He put it on himself, so it's not the perfect fit. He had to cut around the buttons, which, as you can imagine, makes things a bit harder. For me, it definitely improves the grip, but I'm not a fan of the plasticky feel, so I'm not too keen on it. And it's not a decoration piece for him, so he doesn't care so much about how it looks, but it works really well. So the rest of the controller is pretty much the same as a standard PS5 controller, minus the rumble motors, as Controller Modz calls them. So that's what gives you the haptic feedback or the vibrations. I don't play enough driving games for me to really worry about having that feedback. So I'm fine with that. And it saves a bit of weight anyway. Do note though, Controller Modz do give different skins and have different finishes on their controllers. So as I said previously, this was just going for the cheapest option out there. So it's a standard PS5 looking like controller. But you can get a bit more fancy. So the option is there if you wanted to spend a bit more money. The thumbsticks feel nice where you touch them. They look a bit plasticky from the reflection, but I'm not bothered by that. It feels rubbery. There's a nice grained finish around the edges, the curved areas, and then you've got a dome in the middle. It feels good. They don't slip out of your hand. That's the key thing for thumbsticks for me. Before we talk about the button placement in a bit more detail, I'd just like to share my hand size because I think it's quite an important bit of information. If your hand's slightly bigger, you probably have less problems. If your hand's slightly smaller, then this might be a bit painful for you, especially if you want to use something like the triangle or the square. As you can see here, it's a bit of a stretch. It's not as comfortable as my own controller, which is, I think, a little bit down to the fact where the buttons are placed at the back. Because it moves your hand a little bit lower down. If the buttons were slightly higher, it would give your hand something to rest against, so you could position your hand slightly higher as well. Controller Modz should definitely consider giving more options in the button placement. Currently, there's none. Around the buttons is somewhere I was a little bit disappointed in, it being one of the few things that the Controller Modz have actually modified themselves. You can see slight chips around the button, where they've drilled the hole for the button. If that's not done to the highest quality, I'm not too impressed with that. Now, if you did go for the paddles instead of the buttons, no, that won't have the same problem because that's a complete kit, and there shouldn't be too much they can mess up there. But you can't really tell these chips. It's only when you look closely. The button feels really solid in its place. So it's not as if it's giving me an issue with the performance of the controller, which is fine, I guess. But I have theoretically spent 150 quid on this controller. The buttons cost £40 extra. For £40, I expect a nice clean cut. The press of the button is quite strong. It feels a bit like your phone's button. So if I compare it to my S21 Ultra, it's strong enough that you don't accidentally press it, but you do have to be a little bit conscious and go for the press. It takes a bit more effort than you would like. Sometimes you just want to smoothly press a button where in this case you have to consider it. With my pedals, I did feel sometimes I'd miss it, but I'd miss the click because they're not perfect. Again, there's not a perfect product out there that I've experienced yet. It's got some minor issues, nothing you can't get used to. It's all about time, but it is something to consider. So I guess that's one of the things that's really put me off getting the Controller Modz controller. But also now the price, I feel it's too close to some of the more premium brands like Scuff, where you're potentially looking at around £200. I just really wanted 4 buttons at the back. Now, I want to give it a go, and hence I got myself the Revolution 5 Pro by Nacon. So that should be coming through soon. Make sure you subscribe to hear a bit more about that controller. You should definitely give Controller Modz a try. Yoomyr, when I speak to him, he speaks really highly of this controller. Finding the perfect controller might be a journey that I will be on for quite some time. But for now, I've had a few experiences. I did put out a poll to see what people wanted me to try. And I got a whole load of people respond to that. Hey, have a look at this. And yeah, I'm one of the people that clicked on get the Scuff FPS Pro. So that didn't work. Till next time, goodbye.